No photograph. For more than 124 years, it rested quietly in the archives of the National Museum of African American History and Culture. People admired its beauty and dignity, but no one noticed the impossible detail hidden in plain sight. Charleston, South Carolina, October 1899. Inside the photography studio of Mr. William Harrison, one of the few photographers who welcomed black clients, a proud family gathered for a special portrait. The air smelled of chemicals and furniture polish. Heavy velvet curtains blocked the bright afternoon sun, while soft gas lamps lit a painted backdrop that showed a fancy library filled with leather books. This was the image of success and refinement that Harrison offered his customers. Thomas, the father and patriarch, stood tall and confident in a perfectly tailored three-piece suit of dark wool. A shiny gold watch chain crossed his vest. Even though he earned his living as a master carpenter, he looked every bit like a gentleman. Beside him stood his wife Elizabeth in an elegant burgundy silk dress with delicate black lace at the collar. Her hair was styled in the fashionable Gibson girl style. Their 5 children, ranging in age from 23 down to 6, surrounded them. The oldest son wore a fine suit almost as nice as his father's. The daughters wore crisp white blouses with high collars and long dark skirts. The middle son stood straight but looked a little uncomfortable in his stiff collar. And in the front right stood little Samuel, just 6 years old. He wore a small suit with short pants, white stockings, and shiny polished shoes. His young face showed both seriousness and the natural struggle of a child trying to stay perfectly still for the long camera exposure. Harrison positioned the family with care. Thomas and Elizabeth in the center, the children arranged neatly by height, and young Samuel placed clearly in the front. He added a small table covered with embroidered cloth and placed an open book on it, and for a touch of learning and culture. "Now everyone hold very still," Harrison said firmly. "Look straight at the lens. Think of something that makes you proud." The family froze in place. Samuel placed his small hands at his sides, one resting lightly against his father's leg. The shutter opened. Bright light poured through the lens. For a few long seconds, time seemed to stop. The photograph was captured. Thomas paid $3 for the portraits. 2 weeks later, he returned to collect them. That photograph hung proudly in the family parlor for many years. It traveled with them through moves, joys, and hardships. Eventually, it was donated to the National Museum of African American History and Culture in 1987. There, it was carefully cataloged, stored in climate-controlled conditions, and studied by many visitors and historians. Everyone praised its dignity and the powerful story it told about Black prosperity and pride during a difficult era. But for 124 long years, its secret, completely hidden. In January 2023, Dr. Rachel Foster, a dedicated researcher at the museum for 3 years, pulled the old photograph from storage. Her job involved scanning fragile historic images with the latest technology. The new scanner was powerful. It could capture details at 4,800 dots per inch, revealing fabric threads, paper grain, and even the tiny silver halide crystals from the original 1899 film. Rachel placed the photograph on the scanner bed and started the process. The image built line by line on her screen in stunning clarity. Faces appeared first, then clothing, the painted backdrop, and the decorative table. When the scan reached the bottom of the frame where young Samuel stood, Rachel suddenly stopped. She leaned in closer, her breath catching in surprise. Something about the child's right hand looked different. She zoomed in once, twice, and then many more times until the pixels became perfectly sharp. "Oh my God," she whispered softly. Samuel's right day, resting gently against his father's leg, clearly showed 6 fully formed fingers instead of 5. The extra digit sat neatly on the pinky side. It was not blurry or deformed. It looked natural, well-proportioned, and completely functional. His left hand had the normal 5 fingers. The difference was unmistakable. Rachel's heart raced. She searched the museum database for more information about the Thomas family. Within an hour, she had basic details. Within 2 hours, she made an urgent phone call. "Dr. Webb, this is Dr. Rachel Foster from the National Museum of African American History and Culture. I need you to come to Washington as soon as possible. I think I have found something truly extraordinary." Dr. Marcus Webb, a geneticist at Johns Hopkins University who specialized in hereditary conditions in African American populations, arrived 2 days later. He approached his work with deep respect for the painful history of medical research on black bodies. Rachel met him in a nation room. The original 1899 photograph lay protected in an archival sleeve on a light table. Next to it, her laptop showed the high-resolution scan zoomed in on Samuel's hand. Marcus put on white gloves, studied the original photo first, then looked at the digital scan. His eyes widened in amazement. "Unilateral postaxial polydactyly," he said quietly. "Only the right hand. The extra finger is fully formed with normal joints. This is remarkable." They began months of careful research together. Old census records showed Thomas was born around 1849 and worked as a master carpenter. A 1897 property deed proved he had bought a building on King Street, an important achievement for a black man at that time. Church records from Morris Street Baptist Church revealed more. A baptism note for Samuel mentioned "Blessed be his maker's hands." A 1905 church newsletter spoke of the tradition of the maker's hands passed from father to son. The phrase "maker's hands" became their key and clue. It pointed to a special family trait linked to their skilled carpentry work. After slow and difficult searching through incomplete records, the Great Migration paths, and scattered family documents, they found a living descendant. Dr. David Clark, a 47-year-old orthopedic surgeon in Baltimore, had been quietly researching his Charleston roots for 6 years. When David visited the museum and saw the 1899 photograph, emotion filled his face. "I never saw his face before," he said, staring at young Samuel. Then he held out his own right hand. Beside the pinky was a sixth finger fully formed and useful, exactly like the one in the photo. His grandfather had the same trait and had proudly refused surgery. "That hand is who we are," the grandfather always said. David's 7-year-old daughter Emma also carried the same sixth finger on her right hand. Genetic testing at Johns Hopkins confirmed everything. The trait came from a rare mutation in the GLA3 gene that controls limb nepiash. This specific variant was extremely uncommon. The family line showed at least 6 confirmed generations with the trait, and oral history plus church records suggested it went back even further, possibly 8 to 10 generations, all the way to West Africa before enslavement. The extra fingers appeared to give the family members superior fine motor control and dexterity, helping them become exceptional craftsmen and later skilled surgeons. The news spread quickly. The museum created a large special exhibition titled "Hands of Legacy: The Thomas Family Story." The 1899 photograph was the star of the show, displayed with large interactive screens so visitors could zoom in on Samuel's six-fingered hand. The exhibit also included family trees spanning 10 generations, genetic diagrams, old carpentry tools, modern surgical instruments, and photos of David and Emma. The powerful message was clear. What some see as a difference can actually be a source of strength, skill, and pride. Major newspapers and television stations covered the story. Thousands of visitors came. People from around the world sent messages. Many parents of children born with extra fingers decided not to have them removed after learning the Thomas family story. Adults who had hidden their hands for years began sharing photos proudly for the first time. A moving message came from a mother in Nigeria. "My son has hands like yours. In our village we tell old stories about ancestors who were craftsmen and healers with these hands. Your family story helped me see this is not a curse. It is a beautiful gift that travels through blood." 1 year later, David brought his daughter Emma back to Charleston. They visited the old building on King Street where Thomas once had his carpentry shop. They walked inside Morris Street Baptist Church and saw the original baptism records. They stood together in front of the traveling exhibition and met local families who shared their own stories of resilience and hidden strengths. That evening on the hotel balcony overlooking the harbor, David told Emma about their long family journey from West Africa, through the painful Middle Passage, through centuries of slavery and struggle, all the way to her own small hand. "They took so much from our ancestors," he said softly, "but they could never take what was carried in the blood. That gift traveled through Thomas, through Samuel, through my grandfather, through me, and now to you." Emma looked at her 6 fingers in the soft evening light and smiled. "I'm proud of my maker's hands," she said. "When I grow up, I want to make beautiful things too, just like Samuel and Thomas." The photograph that waited silently for 124 years now speaks loudly to everyone who sees it. It reminds us that pride, skill, and identity can survive against all odds. It shows that sometimes the most powerful stories are the ones that stay hidden until the right moment and the right eyes finally notice them. Today, the Ness family portrait hangs prominently in the museum's main hall. Visitors stop, zoom in, and learn the full story. Young Samuel stands there forever 6 years old, dressed in his best clothes, his six-fingered hand resting proudly in view, waiting more than a century to be truly seen. And in seeing him, many people now see a little more of themselves.